Aha! That's where it went.
And that's how I found it.
Just when I was finally ready to play Sonic and the Secret Rings.
Come on, guys. We should make the most of this.
I agree. We should play it. We shouldn't play it.
It's not that bad, aside from the abhorrent controls. Besides, there's this note on the back.
How did a game buried in the ground receive a note?
Open sesame!
No!
You don't see that every day.
That was not what I was expecting. Daniel, why'd you... Daniel? Sonic 06, one of the most infamous failures in gaming. Critics and fans warned everyone to stay away from this glitchy, unfinished title. But that didn't stop a passionate group who formed the Sonic 06 speedrun community. Though Sonic isn't the only Hedgehog you can play. Shadow has an entire campaign that not only shapes his character, but creates an amazing speedrun. Through teamwork and dedication, the community discovered that Shadow's story is more broken than they possibly imagined. DarkspineSonic, better known as DSS, was one of the first glitch hunters for 06. His entire channel was dedicated to finding exploits and sharing them with his audience. That's when he was invited to a website with a thriving player base, named the Sonic Center. This was the hub for all Sonic speedruns, and DSS became one of the best 06 players on the site. However, most runs focused on individual levels, also known as ILs, rather than full game completions. The 3 stories in 06 take place in the town of Soliana, where most of the levels are located. As you progress through each arc, you unlock more levels until you reach the final boss of said storyline. Down the years, Sonic and Silver's story saw competition in the early 2010s. Both Hedgehogs have fascinating movements that leave doors wide open for optimization. But in the middle, Shadow's story was neglected. His movement isn't nearly complex enough to compete with the others. Jumping and using homing attack to go fast became repetitive, deterring players from optimizing it. That being said, DSS did find a glitch exclusive to Shadow. If you jump against a corner and pause, you can homing attack through walls. This skips multiple areas when used correctly, but it wasn't enough to generate interest for Shadow. So it was pushed to the side for many years. Now, DSS was very influential, but he was only one of 4 notable members during Shadow's early era. The second runner rose to prominence in late 2013 by the name of FocusSight. Focus just started his speedrun journey, running multiple ILs in hopes of setting records. Then, out of nowhere, his name disappeared from the rankings. This was because he created fake submissions to the leaderboard, and the moderators banned him from the website. This became a moment of reflection for Focus. He didn't want to be known as a cheater, and knew he had to be better. He recorded all of his IL runs to provide full proof of his accomplishments. Along his path, he gained an interest in doing full story speedruns, particularly Shadow's story. Since no one had completed serious runs for it, he began running the category on a clean slate. This was when he recorded the first Shadow record in history, with a time of 56 minutes and 3 seconds. Even though it was a primitive run, there were lots of tricks everywhere, but the most significant one was midway through after finishing Aquatic Base. There's a mission where you need to save an archaeologist by defeating several enemies. She then helps you find the Scepter of Darkness, which is located in a fountain on the other side of town. Finding the scepter grants access to the next level, Wave Ocean. When Focus spawns into Soliana, however, he instead clips into the back wall and goes straight to the fountain, skipping the archaeologist entirely. This saves 90 seconds, the biggest skip thus far. Focus started the history of Shadow's story, but he wasn't interested in continuing it for now. Going into 2014, he stopped running it for a while. until an event occurred in March that reignited his motivation.
We used to do a race once a month for a different game, and I think it was that this month was Shadow's Story No Mystery in 06. And while I was prohibited from being on the IL leaderboards, I was not prohibited from being a part of these, because I was still a member of the community. And so I think I was doing these as a way to try to still keep in touch with people and build up my reputation. I personally feel like the category is really underrated, and I still have a very big attachment to Shadow's Story.
It's important to specify the game's different categories, that being any percent and no MSG. DSS found a way to skip multiple levels by manipulating NPCs. In a nutshell, using Mission Select Glitch, MSG, you can trick the game into warping you to the credits. It's a really cool glitch, but is not the subject of this progression. Instead, this will focus on Shadow No Mission Select Glitch, where every level is played. This is the category they raced, and when they took off, Focus obliterated his previous record. The mission skip is still present, but there are other strategies Focus used. In Wave Ocean, you take control of Omega, who has the unintended ability to fly by mashing the jump button. Focus uses this to hover around the level toward the goal ring. A simple skip, but what follows in Dusty Desert is anything but. You're intended to drive through a specific path that opens a door to the temple. Clipping through the door is possible, but there's a major hurdle in the way of doing so. You're locked inside the hovercraft, so you can't just hop out and do the trick. Fortunately, Flipping Clip was found. If the enemies hit your vehicle just right, you'll flip upside down in front of the door. This triggers a failsafe that forces the hovercraft to self-destruct after 10 seconds. This frees you to do the clip, saving half a minute. You need to be careful though, because sometimes you'll get a fake flip. That's when the vehicle visually turns over, but the game's failsafe doesn't activate. If that happens, the enemies need to destroy it, which negates all the time save. Luckily, Focus nails all the tricks and wins the race. As a bonus, he decimated his record, improving by over 3.5 minutes. Thanks to him, Shadow's progression can officially begin. Currently, Focus is now one of 06's most important community members, and it's safe to say he's earned the trust of those around him. Following the race, each player dispersed toward their own interests. Luckily, it wasn't long before another person proved that Shadow has big potential. After all, it was only a matter of time before he'd enter the spotlight. Six months later, DSS began his Shadow Story grind. He lowered the record to 51 minutes, then 50, and before long, he was going for the first 48. This was thanks to many new tricks. At the end of Flame Core, you take control of Rouge, who has the ability to glide and climb walls. Near the cave entrance, there's a ceiling where if you jump at it just right, clips you above its hitbox and out of bounds. DSS executes this and glides all the way down to the goal ring, saving 20 seconds. At least, that's how much it's supposed to save, but DSS struggles to get out of bounds for over 15 seconds. Now behind his personal best, he needs to find a way to save time. Then he enters Tropical Jungle, a Rouge-only stage. You're required to complete a series of objectives to finish the level, but you can just clip through the lasers at the end to skip it. But DSS thought that was too simple. To really save time, he goes for something else.
I should have let go after that.
That's strange. What was he trying to do? He seemed to be attempting something, though it didn't work out. Whatever it was, it can't be that important. But then, DSS flies to a lower floor and gives it one more shot.
That should be it. Oh, we in there.
This is a moon jump. Moon jumps were one of the first major glitches discovered in 06, found mere hours after its release. When flying, both your speed and gravity increase in value the longer you're airborne. When you land, both revert back to 0. However, if you release jump on the frame before landing, the game resets your gravity but keeps your speed. Because there's no gravity, all the built-up speed shoots you high into the sky. This glitch put DSS back ahead, but he's not out of the woods yet. Throughout the first Radical train section, you need to set up barriers to stop Eggman's train. But if you're fast enough, you can clear the area without putting up any barriers. This requires you to reach the loading trigger before 55.5 seconds, otherwise Eggman escapes, forcing a restart. In Focus's run, he took a death midway through after activating a checkpoint. This reset Eggman's train while spawning him farther ahead, but lost 5 seconds. DSS is not slowing down, so he clips through the door and goes full speed.
I gotta make it out of here before 55.5 seconds if I don't want to take a death, so it's a race against the clock. Almost messed that up. Yeah, I'm good. Nice.
After an improved flip and clip setup, he enters the final boss against Mephiles. Earlier in the run, DSS bought the red and black memory shards in Soliana, which upgrade Shadow's abilities. The black shard grants the Chaos Blast move, allowing him to charge a powerful attack. DSS tries to combo this with a few kicks on Mephiles, but gets knocked down before they connect. This forces him to wait an extra cycle, but it doesn't stop him from achieving the first 48.
And you're dead. Damn near everything in that boss fight went wrong, but I stuck to the plan.
Following DSS's success, he left to improve other categories in Sonic 06 before going on hiatus for several months. But this wasn't the end for him. Even if he didn't know it, DSS set off the events that took place the following year.
So what are we not gonna do next time we see Sonic 06, Rye?
Read the note on the back.
Good. I'm proud of you.
Whoa! Whoa! Hey! We're walking here!
Sorry guys.
Matt?
When you guys were absorbed into the game, the box got sealed shut. I'm gonna see if there's a way to get you out of here. If I spin it really fast, you guys will come flying out.
Just let it happen.
Are you alright?
Guys?
2014 ended quietly, with no one even close to DSS's 48. It's far from perfect, but to iron out the wrinkles, someone else must take charge. It's time to introduce the third member in the early era of Shadow. A former Sonic Heroes runner, Yish is no stranger to speedrunning. He was an aspiring record holder, closing the gap between him and DSS. However, he wasn't alone, because Focus was also improving. Both of them battled it out, a 49 from Yish, then a 49 from Focus. It's only a matter of time before one of them pulls through. Yish shaved off over 40 seconds from DSS, nearly breaking the next minute barrier. Let's see how he did it. Oh. Unfortunately, the video of Yish's record has long since vanished. There are credible witnesses who saw this run back then, but all evidence is lost. It's not the end of the world though. Besides, it only took 11 days for DSS to clap back.
This is a very dangerous stage. It's the final stage, but it's still a very dangerous stage. Nice. Scary part should be done. Record. Now that, ladies and gentlemen, was a mighty fine run. Now that is a standard to be set.
DSS crushed the record beneath his feet, squeezing another 40 seconds of time save. He also had RNG on his side. RNG is essentially luck, which in this case means enemy behaviors change every time. In the Egg Cerberus boss, for example, you need to grab his antenna and ram him into a wall 4 times. In between each phase, Cerberus can turn in any direction, occasionally preventing you from getting on his back. If that happens, Cerberus runs away, killing lots of time. That's not the only RNG element either. There are 2 boss fights against Mephiles, named Phase 1 and Phase 2. Phase 2, aka the final boss, doesn't have very punishing RNG, but Phase 1 Mephiles teleports randomly around the arena. If he teleports anywhere that's not in the middle or the same spot, you lose time because you need to adjust your position. Thankfully, DSS gets good luck all around, and he was satisfied with the first 47. But as great as it was, it didn't stop one player from taking it on. After witnessing his companion succeed, the 4th and final runner from the early era stepped up. As a multi-time record holder and dedicated 06 member, he's ready to take on Shadow. This is Triple Agent.
Yes! Let's go! Guys, that's world record! Yo! There we go!
Whether he broke limits in speedrunning or contributed to the community, Triple is an excellent team player. He enjoys being a part of this space, pouring his love for it into his Sonic Story speedruns. Although, his motivation for Shadow was a little more personal.
At the time, Focus and I had this rivalry going back and forth, and I think specifically because Focus was particularly confident in his abilities in Shadow Story specifically, that added a lot of motivation to my desire to run Shadow. I never actually grinded out runs of the category. I just spent months and months taking pretty much every single IL record in Shadow. I felt like Shadow was going to be fun to optimize because it was just primarily movement based, and I was fairly confident that I could optimize that pretty well.
World record! We got it!
This was a remarkable performance, and it almost wasn't a record at all, because this run got the dreaded fake flip in Dusty Desert. In this harrowing moment, he wiggled around to try and activate the failsafe by force. This saved the run, and he only lost a few seconds. His next goal was 46. However, this was an interesting time for Triple. Life got busy, and the time he once had for his hobby was slowly shrinking. He was about to graduate high school, and college was on the horizon. Can he really attain his goal in time?
Ooh, the God RNG, but I messed it up. No, and I fucked it up twice. And he ran. I'll take this time loss.
Triple propels toward Wave Ocean in high spirits. Before entering the level, he locates the fountain and uses Chaos Spear to obtain the Scepter of Darkness. Instead of just traveling to Wave Ocean though, Triple dives in the water to respawn closer to it. This places him right next to the portal, saving 10 seconds. Now, he's definitely on pace to break the record.
Oh, for fuck's sake, dude. Really?
This was a huge blunder, but he still has time save in Dusty Desert. If he can clean up his mistakes, 46 might be obtainable. But to have any shot, he needs to execute Flipping Clip successfully. The hovercraft flips on its side. He's stuck, unable to move or finesse his way out. But maybe, just maybe, there's a chance the game counts it as a flip.
Yo, that counted as a flip. How did that count as a flip? That really shouldn't have counted. We in there! Let's... Wow!
Triple said goodbye to Shadow once and for all, moving on to other pursuits. The 46 was a huge barrier break, especially with these new optimizations and the 2 successful moon jumps. This won't be beaten easily. The obvious candidate to lower the record was DSS, but he wasn't focusing on Shadow. Who else can possibly challenge him? Yish returned to Shadow that summer, this time with proper video. He upped his game sense spring, practicing every trick until it became muscle memory. When he started record attempts on August 15th, it looked very promising. He gained a significant lead, but of course, that was over his personal best. In reality, he was only 20 seconds ahead of the record? Yeah, Yish has a huge lead by Kingdom Valley, with incoming time save to boot. He's starting strong, but Triple can't be underestimated. There's a reason he's the only one to achieve such a prestigious time. As Yish played, his lead slowly bled out until he was significantly behind. Yet, his optimism didn't waver.
Technically, Reki is still possible, it's just really unlikely. If I get the time save in Aquatic Base and Dusty Desert, I think it's still possible.
He's back ahead by 4 seconds. Yish heads toward the temple door in Dusty Desert and nails the flip. Now, he just needs to clip.
Wait, don't moan yet. Stop. I really should not be pausing every 2 seconds, that's a time loss.
When you do wall clips, sometimes you'll get stuck in place for seconds at a time, no matter how much you mash. This prevented Yish from retrying the clip immediately. However, it's not over. He flies through the temple, and when he reaches the finale, it was looking close.
Dude, I missed the Reki. I'm sad, but there it is. There's the PB boys. That's 2 seconds away from the dang Reki.
If he cut out 2 pauses on the temple door, this would have edged out a new record. He improved his personal best by a ton, but who was he kidding? He had to keep going. Yish came back 2 weeks later with immense force. Even amidst a couple slowdowns, he stayed ahead of the record, getting a gold on Iblis as a bonus. A gold segment means it's the fastest the level has been completed, which then updates the best time he can theoretically achieve. but then he enters Mephiles Phase 1. The first half requires you to defeat multiple enemies before Mephiles shows up. Yish is unfortunately really slow, and receives bad RNG in the second half. He's still ahead of his personal best, but behind the world record. Though, as dire as it seems, Yish is determined not to fall short ever again.
So I have 20 seconds of free time save over record, apparently. Probably not quite 20, probably closer to 15. Alright, flip and clip will make or break the run. No, don't you dare. Okay, we're good. You know, okay, I can't be upset. But it happened, people. It happened, people.
Yish overcame his previous loss and persevered when it mattered most. Even if it's not the time he was looking for, so many miracles made this run possible. This was a very important day for Shadow, especially because for the next 2 years, record activity paused. Shadow underwent another dark period. In fact, 06 as a whole went quiet, with incentive to improve completely gone. Stagnation took over, and no one paid attention. Except for one runner. See, that was a lie. There was a big event in 2016, because for one last time, DSS returned to Shadow. DSS had unfinished business, and he dedicated the month of September for his final push. During one of his runs, he stayed consistent with his personal best at first, which was already just 5 seconds behind the record. Then he hurt the pace after losing the buggy in Crisis City. He can bring it back with a moon jump in Tropical Jungle, but no such luck this time. His chat watched as the run fell farther and farther into the red. However, DSS was undeterred, and he kicked himself into high gear. The results spoke for themselves.
That's it. I'm not shaving this time down anymore. I'm not coming back to this. I don't think I am anyway. Like, maybe for like the hell of it, but I don't really see myself doing more serious attempts at this. But yeah, I'm just gonna let somebody else bring this time down. I'm done.
After DSS, competition dried up throughout 2017. No discoveries, no new records, the game seemed dead. But hiding in the depths, a glimmer shined in the darkness when a new Shadowrunner rose to fame. His name being Otonishi. Tony is already respected for his silver runs, but he wanted a change of pace and chose to give Shadow a try. He didn't get far, finishing just a single run in 2017 before stepping away. Then, a year later, he returned to Shadow, skyrocketing toward the record. In one particular offline session, he achieved another huge personal best. Instead of outright submitting his time to speedrun.com, however, he booted up his stream and commentated over the playback of his run.
I'm not gonna say if this run was really good, and then I'm not gonna say if it broke any times. I'm not even gonna say. All I'm gonna say is, this run, it's something.
He looks really far ahead, though his splits aren't comparing against the record. Instead, he's comparing against his personal best, which is 1 minute and 6 seconds behind. Tony just so happens to be 1 minute and 5 seconds ahead going into the final boss, or 1 second behind the record. It's really close, and Tony let the suspense fill the room as he commentated.
Here we are, everybody. Will I get a good Mephiles Phase 2? Let's find out. So yeah, as you can see there, 1 or 2 thingy-mabobbers off of not needing the 3rd giant. So in other words, we're probably not gaining any time here. And then Mephiles decides to buzz around for forever. I'm timing this so closely. Yep, that's what I got. I even timed it to the frame in Sony Vegas. It's a tie!
The record is in a strange place, with the top 4 runners miles ahead of the competition. Surely they are capable of lowering the record, but no one did. This tie was the last run Tony performed for Shadow No MSG. If the best players are MIA, who's going to take the mantle? This is Turborun.
$47.26, not bad.
Turbo joined the community in early 2018, beginning as a casual but dedicated 06 runner. He started by recording runs with his camera, but the moment he got a capture card, he took off. He ran Shadow more than any other category, largely because he's his favorite Sonic character. This simple but crucial element motivated him to continuously pursue Shadow. That fall, he was already just behind the legends that came before him. Eager to see how far he can push himself, Turbo got another personal best that December. Turbo jumped from 5th to 1st place. How is this even possible? For starters, he pulled ahead of DSS early on due to better movement. Nailing the moon jump in Tropical Jungle also boosted his confidence, as this was the first record with it in over 3 years. The biggest time loss was a 10-second death in Soliana, which didn't stop him from setting a record.
That's it!
But this was only the beginning. Turbo kept running, and this record soon became part of a long streak. Turbo's next accomplishment occurred early in 2019. This time, he got the moon jump in White Acropolis, coupled with a good Mephiles Phase 1. Aquatic Base was the major time loss, where he struggled with clips and defeating enemies. So, how much did he improve, you ask? Well, a record's a record after all. But Turbo isn't settling for the minimum. He returned that April, this time with his eyes set on the first sub 46. One of his favorable runs began in dire straits, dying in the middle of Crisis City. This is called Yish Jump, since according to the community, Yish constantly failed this jump because of how precise it is. Though it seems Yish was not its only victim. Fortunately, Turbo was really lucky in this run, because his game produced fast loads. When the Xbox runs for hours at a time, the loading times can change depending on the state of the console. Inside is the hard drive, which holds different sectors responsible for loading every level in the game. The console only loads from one sector at a time, which can change if the console is on for an extended period. This is important because some sectors speed up loads while others slow them down. Depending on which sector the console chooses, every loading screen can be several seconds slower or faster than normal. Turbo's loads were about a second faster on average, meaning he saves nearly half a minute across the run. He capitalizes on this by executing Tropical Jungle's moon jump flawlessly. Then, during phase 1, he failed to take out all the enemies quickly. Whereas he normally ends at a 120, he finishes at 135, a 15-second time loss. But he keeps his composure, moving forward without looking back. When he touches the Dusty Desert goal ring, his nerves kicked in.
Oh crap, okay, I need to calm down, oh dear god.
He got through the first part, and it was down to Mephiles. The first 45 is barely on the cusp. He annihilates him to half health in just 10 seconds, sparing no chance to destroy him. That's when Mephiles charges his first attack, leaving him wide open for Turbo.
Oh no. It's over. I messed it up. Or did I? Wait, no I didn't. Oh no, wait. You can't be serious. Wow.
Eight months later, and the 4601 is still on top. Turbo took a break through the fall, focusing on goals away from speedrunning. Then in December 2019, he returned to Shadow, but not for no MSG. Instead, he grinded any percent, eventually claiming the record. Now that he holds both categories, Turbo must be satisfied. Not even close. Looking at the lost potential of his last record, it was time to push Shadow to the 45-minute barrier. After the turn of the year, he announced his declaration to do attempts. Sadly, those didn't pan out, but that's to be expected. This run is difficult, and it's going to take time to reach his goal. You can't rush perfection, right? Beyond this run being a 45, Turbo's performance was incredible. His Kingdom Valley was perfect, nailing each clip first try. Mephiles also treated him well, setting up for a great endgame. After so many runs going down the gutter, it's pure elation to see 45 by his name. This was Turbo's final shadow time before he quit speedrunning for good. His legacy carried the run past multiple thresholds, and he shows that there is a lot of potential in Shadow's story.
Hey, did you find it?
You know, this might not be the best idea. Even I'd rather be playing Secret Rings at this point. Daniel, you remember how you got powers the last time you touched this game, right? You were able to go Sonic Speed!
Why do you think I banished that game? Caught you red-handed.
This might help us. With these powers, we might be able to warp out of here.
But we're in a loading screen. The only way we could warp out is... Oh.
I'm hearing strangely happy noises.
Use all the strength you got, man. We're freaking sending it.
I was waiting for that exact sentence. It's open!
That's my terrible Sonic game. Yeah!
I'm gonna miss being the voice of God.
We're not. You know, after a life-altering experience like this, I'm craving a good Sonic game. Like...
Why does this weird stuff only happen in this household?
Not long after Turbo's 45, a new player joined the 06 speedrun community. Unlike most who start by running Sonic or Silver's story, this person began with Shadow. But he was different from everyone else. He used completely new strategies, pushing him into a league of his own. This runner was cooking up something special for everyone to enjoy. This is GordonRamsay.
Let's go.
Gordon integrated tons of new skips that changed the run completely. The first level, for example, finally had new tech. Through a collaboration between Gordon, Focus, and a player named Volcano, they discovered that at the end of White Acropolis, you can make the results screen fade out early. Normally you have to wait for your rank to appear before the fade out, but you can just skip it using this glitch. What's the complicated setup for this? You skip the checkpoint. For some reason, skipping this checkpoint breaks the results screen and forces an early fade out. This saves 5 seconds of waiting. Gordon also brought forth a more subtle technique. When you perform a homing attack on a slope, it cancels out briefly and gives you extra speed. If you hold full forward on the joystick during this, your speed reverts back to normal after you start running. But if you do the cancel, hold partially forward, and do a spin kick, you can store that high speed and go much faster. This is M-Speed glitch, which is useful in many straight areas. But all of this is nothing compared to the giant discovery Gordon made. Many mechanics in 06 are broken beyond reason, like Shadow's Chaos Snap, for example. This move is unlocked by purchasing the blue memory shard, and is accessed via a capsule in certain levels. Using this near foes warps you to them so you can attack up close from a wide range. Enemies typically have one giant target area that the warp locks onto when used. However, rails are much different. Instead of being a target, rails have grinds, which doesn't compute with Shadow's ability. If you use Chaos Snap near a rail, the game freaks out and teleports you to a completely different area. But this location isn't random. The glitch teleports you to the center of the map, aka coordinate 00. While extremely cool, it had no practical use in speedruns. That was until looking at Section 2 in Flame Core. Coincidentally, there's both a rail and a Chaos Snap power-up right at the beginning, meaning you can do the warp right away. Even crazier, the center of the map is right next to a later part of the level. With enough momentum, you can reach all the way to the level's midway point in just a few seconds. Although there's a major problem, in the shape of a huge death plane in front of coordinate 00. You can make the distance, but since you hit a death plane on the way, you respawn at the beginning. There's no room to avoid it, and any attempts to go around diminish too much speed. But when it all seemed hopeless, Gordon found something miraculous. In his run, he picks up the Chaos Snap capsule and lines up next to the rail during his invincibility frames. After executing the warp, he flings Shadow's dead body toward the platform straight to the checkpoint. This checkpoint is the final piece to the puzzle. Objects that are far away from the camera don't render in order to save space. If this checkpoint was a couple units forward, it wouldn't have rendered, and the trick would be impossible. Thanks to perfect alignment, Gordon triggers the checkpoint and spawns right before the lava wall. This saga shows how intricate Gordon is as a glitch hunter. He goes to the ends of the earth to find all possible skips, no matter how absurd they seem. This run completely rewrote Shadow, though Gordon is far from done. There's still more skips that can push the time even farther. The stakes are higher than ever, and Gordon is going to change Shadow's story forever. minute and 50 seconds. That's how much Gordon cut the time in under a month. He is undoubtedly the best Shadowrunner anyone has seen in years, and interestingly, one of his records nearly died at the start. In his 44:05, Gordon failed to clip through the first door in Kingdom Valley several times. Once he lost too much, he went back and switched to Rouge. Thanks to an optimization from Focus, there's actually a faster route that involves moon jumping and gliding all the way to the loading area. You have to do the glitch on the stairs, which is incredibly risky. But when Gordon had nothing to lose, he got the moon jump and flew all the way to the loading zone, saving 10 seconds. While he had skillful moments like this, he did submit to additional luck in the form of rock launches. On round-like objects, if you spin kick on top of them while moving forward, they will launch while you're riding on it. The direction you go is pretty inconsistent, but it does make new skips possible. In the last section of Crisis City, you can break this stone into multiple smaller chunks. If you're lucky, a tiny rock will land nearby, allowing an attempt at a rock launch. In Gordon's 4350, he gets on it and launches toward the fire tornado. When he jumps off it, he lands stylishly on the rail, saving nearly 30 seconds. Gordon was more than satisfied. He stepped away from competitive Shadow, but he didn't go far. His hunt for glitches continued as he explored the game. Gordon's understanding of 06 put him in a unique position to test unorthodox theories. The most promising of those ideas was actually in the Iblis fight. Way back in 2007, the very first glitch DSS posted was in the final boss of Sonic's story. Using the Sky Gem to warp back to the platform, he despawned the boss and ended the fight 5 minutes early. This fight is exclusive to Sonic's story, so it doesn't apply to Shadow. However, Sonic and Shadow share an identical Iblis fight. But after years of exploring, no one could find a way to solve Iblis. Most gave up this fairy tale, resorting to normal, redundant fights. But Gordon was not discouraged. He explored the entire arena, looking for any possible leads. See, Shadow's Chaos Spear move allows him to attack nearby enemies. But if you hold the attack button, he floats in midair. You can float forever as long as you hold the button, which could open up some opportunities. Somehow, there has to be something they're missing. Then, on one December night, Gordon got a low 214 Iblis, a new IL record. Shadow's story was recently accepted to GDQ, and Gordon was preparing to showcase it to the world. He practiced every level to a T, including the Iblis fight. During a conversation with DSS that night, he was adamant that there was a way to despawn Iblis. DSS goes to sleep shortly after, and for the next half hour, Gordon continues glitch hunting.
I was messing around. I was like jumping on top of the little pillars around the arena. And at one point, I realized that there are no kill planes in the arena, or at least none below you. And if you get far enough out of bounds, you can just jump underneath the lava, because why would there be collision there? I was just in the void, throwing Chaos Spears, trying to see what would happen, if anything. And then he died. He just died. Sonic 06 has essentially an auto deadline, very far out of bounds in every single stage. Anything gets past that point, the game kills it, or if it's an object, it deletes it. DSS had found that when Iblis dives underneath you, you'll see like a copy of Iblis appear. He's completely intangible, no animation, he's just chilling. And we knew that there was like one frame during that where he would become tangible. So the game makes that copy of Iblis below the player, because it's like, okay, this is where the player was, this is where I need to go. And then when the attack times out, due to Iblis trying to dive onto you, that's when he becomes tangible. On the one frame where he becomes tangible, the game sees that he's past the line. It goes, well, we can't have that. So it kills him.
Over the next 24 hours, the community worked as a team to optimize this revolutionary discovery. 06 has so many glitches, but never has a skip this significant gone under the radar for so many years. Just 2 days later, Gordon did speedruns with the despawn for the first time. Not only did he save 50 seconds on Iblis, he also went for another rock launch in Crisis City. This sends you all the way to the end of Section 2, saving 15 seconds. A 42-minute record is a real possibility. But with all these new skips, how can everything line up in a single run? Well, it doesn't have to. If enough good outweighs the bad, greatness can still emerge. True skill doesn't just stem from practice, but from adaptability and endurance. When the community woke up that Christmas Day, they received a very special gift, signed by none other than Gordon himself. Thanks to every contributor, 4-minute barriers were broken in 2020. There would never have been a resurgence without all the players who came together. 06 is more than just a heaping pile of trash. It's a heaping pile of trash with an incredible community. Once the dust settled and development slowed down, barely anyone touched Shadow's story. It's remarkable how 2020 single-handedly placed Shadow on the map after so many years of neglect. The hype may have dissipated, but the record hasn't plateaued yet. There's still mistakes to clean up and tricks to improve. Thankfully, there's someone who has the drive to take charge. To find him, though, we'll need to go to a different community.
I'm a veteran in the Mario Kart franchise. I've had a few world records in Mario Kart 8 Deluxe, My track I was like most known for was Mount Wario 200cc. The longest I've had the world record there was like 98 days. I love Mario Kart Time Trials. I've always had an interest in 06. I was strictly a Sonic runner for about a year. Around June 2020, I was like, okay, I think I want to learn another category. So I actually learned Silver second because I didn't want to mess with the vehicles. The first time I ever ran Shadow was within a race, and it was bad.
I know. Isn't it by what the? What the? Is it master? Get off the bike! Get off the bike! Get off the bike! Get off the bike!
I had a lot of mistakes and everything, but I had now like gained an interest in Shadow, and I've always said like if you're good at Sonic, you can be good at Shadow.
As Gordon set records, Nick was practically the only person on his level. He picked up tricks really fast thanks to his Mario Kart experience. Though because he's a multi-talented runner, his main focus changed all the time. Diversifying his attention made him well-versed in speedrunning, but as a result, Nick didn't touch Shadow Story for most of 2021. By the year's end, Gordon's record was about to celebrate its 1-year anniversary. After claiming another 06 record that December, Nick shifted back to Shadow No MSG and remembered Gordon's 42. He couldn't pass up the chance to beat it. Just a week before the holiday, Nick began new and improved Shadow attempts.
About time I get record in this category. I am very proud of myself for this. This was one of my goals for a while to get this record.
The year closed out with Nick at the top of the leaderboard. For a relatively short grind, he was really happy with this improvement. Then, early the following year, a pivotal decision was made that changed everything in 06. In February 2022, the community changed the name of the category from No MSG to No Credits Warp. This was merely a name change to make it easier to identify. The big change was the introduction of a new timing method. Previous runs were only timed with RTA, real-time attack, which keeps track of everything including loads. The community is adding LRT, loads removed time. Alongside the standard RTA, top runs are now retimed without load screens, so that just gameplay is included. How fast is Nick's run when retimed without loads? That's right, loading screens take up over 10 minutes of the run. This shows how dedicated these players are, running a game that requires so much waiting. Now, every run, regardless of load times, will be on an even playing field. It's a good thing we have Nick's official time, because it stood for years. From 2022 onward, Nick held the record with no threats in sight. A big deterrent for many players when it comes to the run is its difficulty. On a beginner level, most consider Shadow to be the easiest to learn of the three stories. When you're a top runner, however, optimizing every detail, it becomes the hardest to master. But if you want to have the glory of pushing the limit beyond its breaking point, there are challenges you must overcome. That's what Nick did, and once he saw his lead, there was no reason to keep going. So he moved on, leaving his legacy in the hands of fate. The biggest time loss in Nick's run was on the clip going into Radical Train. This allows you to enter the level early at the cost of being the most precise clip to perform. It's absurdly difficult compared to every other clip in the game, but it's too important to give up. After all, it skips 2 loading screens. Wait a second. Negating the load screens, this trick no longer saves what it once did. If we solely factor gameplay, the clip only saves 2 seconds if you hit it first try. This means you can go to the warehouse, unlock the level normally, and maintain a strong pace. Your real time may be slower, but now that LRT takes priority, it doesn't matter. This potential run killer is now almost entirely obsolete. If Nick ever comes back, he will almost certainly destroy the record.
It's been a while since anyone has run this category, so I gotta be the one to do it right. I know I can improve my shadow record. The shadow is just so difficult. Egg Cerberus is the worst boss ever because sometimes he just doesn't want to function. Methless 1 sucks because it's RNG. Moon jumps can be really annoying. It's such a good category. It's just really difficult at top level. So I just grinded Shadow and kept going and going until I got what I have now.
Shadow is very consistent as it comes in terms of what you're able to do from the very beginning of the run all the way through to the very end. And it means that you need to sort of play at your best the entire time, and I've always appreciated that about the category.
I struggle to put into words how talented of an individual GordonRamsay is. Gordon made Shadow so sick. He single-handedly increased everyone's desire to run the game, and it showed how much further Shadow had left to give.
I enjoy the routing and glitch hunting, and so I'll go for this stuff that a lot of people won't. Shadow is fun because he has those kinds of tricks in most of his stages. Shadow's cool, man.
Make sure you throw that away. We don't want any more of that hijinks going on.
You got it.